The fire pops low in this cabin, coffee steaming in my hand. Outside, the wind works the trees like it's looking for a way in. That sound used to calm me. Still does, most nights. Here's the thing they don't tell you after
Merry
you leave the
Christmas!
battlefield.
Is that all, honey?
Walking away
Yes,
from the
just
fight
these.
doesn't mean the fight walks away from you.
We have enough, don't we?
Silence can be
You
louder
shouldn't
than
have brought
gunfire.
this one in.
And the so-called safe zone is where trouble learns
I don't know
your
what you're
name.
talking about.
That night, the breach didn't come with boots or
Is that
alarms.
all you've got?
It came
You
with
know
a
you're
smile
you're
behind a
short.
counter.
Just give me a minute, I'll
A
figure it
mother
out.
with twins.
I told you last time, no
$20.
credit, ma'am.
Please, I just need a little
Christmas
more
Eve.
time.
Your bill is overdue. You'll need
And
to
a
leave.
man who
Don't do
thought
this,
power
please.
Out.
meant humiliation. So let me ask you, brother, when your back's against the wall, do you run or do you hold the line? I was there. Red and black flannel, old injury, service dog at my side. No shouting, no rush. Just a decision
Keep your
about who
distance.
gets protected
We're just
when the
passing
room
through.
goes quiet. Sit down with me.
I think you know exactly
Hear how
why
the
I'm here.
tables turn.
I have
There's a
no idea
lesson
what
here
you're talking
every
about.
protector needs
Don't lie to me.
before the next knock at the door. The $20 table. Cold rain swept through downtown Nashville on Christmas Eve, smearing neon lights into trembling reflections on the pavement and pressing the smell of wet asphalt into the air. Emily Parker paused under the flickering sign of Hearth and Honey, her breath shallow as she tightened her grip on her daughter's hands. Ava stood on her left, curls escaping a knitted hat, clutching a threadbare stuffed rabbit. Mia stood on her right, quieter, eyes alert and serious beneath straight bangs. Emily felt the familiar weight in her coat pocket. A single folded bill. $20. Enough to buy time, she told herself. Enough to buy one small moment of normal. Inside, the restaurant glowed with warmth that felt almost cruel. Laughter bounced off brick walls. Plates clinked. The smell of roasted chicken and buttered bread made Emily's stomach tighten. Not with hunger, but with calculation. She scanned the room, already planning what she could afford, what she would apologize for later. At the host stand stood Brent Caldwell, the floor manager. He was 38, clean-cut, hair slicked back with precision, his vest pressed flat as his smile. It was the kind of smile that measured people before welcoming them. His eyes flicked from Emily's worn coat to the girl's scuffed shoes, then back to her face. "Table for 3?" he asked, voice smooth but impatient. "Yes," Emily said softly. Her voice carried the strain of someone used to lowering it, as if volume itself might invite trouble. Brent nodded and gestured toward a small table near the entrance, close enough to the door that cold air whispered through every time it opened. He did not ask about coats. He did not ask if they were celebrating. He simply pointed. Emily thanked him anyway. Ava swung her legs once they sat down, smiling despite the cold. Mia tucked her hands into her sleeves and watched the room, absorbing details adults often missed. Emily unfolded the menu with care, her fingers stiff. Prices stared back at her. She circled the cheapest items in her head, already rehearsing how to explain limits without letting her children feel them. The door opened again, and a different kind of presence entered the room. The man moved with a slight stiffness, favoring his left leg, but his posture was straight, shoulders broad. He wore a red and black flannel shirt over a gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and worn brown boots. His beard was trimmed, dark with streaks of gray at the temples. His face carried calm, not softness, but control. Beside him walked a German shepherd, black and tan, 5 years old by the look of his steady gait and alert eyes. The dog wore a black harness, bold white letters stitched across it. Service dog, do not pet. The animal did not pull or glance around. He matched the man's pace, disciplined and silent. This was Ryan Cole. Ryan paused just inside, letting his eyes adjust. He noted exits first, then spacing between tables, then faces. It was habit, older than thought. The shepherd sat automatically at his side when Ryan stopped, eyes forward, ears tuned to the room. Ryan felt the dull ache in his left knee flare and fade. Weather always did that. Rain especially. He breathed through it, grounding himself, then moved toward a corner table where his dog could settle without being disturbed. As he passed Emily's table, Ryan noticed the way she held herself. Shoulders tight, chin lifted a fraction too high. He noticed the children's quiet hunger, the way Ava's fingers traced the menu pictures she would not order from, the way Mia kept glancing at the door as if bracing for disappointment. Ryan sat. The dog lay down, chin resting on his paws. A young server approached Ryan's table. Dylan Shaw, 22, thin, with nervous energy in his hands and kindness in his eyes. He spoke quickly, afraid of getting something wrong. "Welcome," Dylan said. "Can I get you started with water?" "Yes," Ryan replied. His voice was low, even. "And space for the dog." Dylan nodded immediately. "Of course." From the host stand, Brent watched the dog with visible annoyance before masking it. He turned his attention back to Emily's table as Dylan passed it on the way to the kitchen. Emily studied the menu again. $20. Tax. Tip. She swallowed and closed it halfway. "Mom," Ava whispered, "can I just get fries?" Emily smiled, though it cost her. "We'll see, sweetheart." Mia said nothing. She reached for Emily's hand instead. Ryan heard none of their words clearly, but he read the scene easily. He had seen it in different forms, in different places. Pride under pressure. Love rationed by numbers. Brent returned to Emily's table, arms folded loosely. His tone shifted, sharper now that the dining room was full. "Just so you know," he said, loud enough to carry, "we do ask guests to be mindful during peak hours." Emily looked up, confused. "I understand." "And payment is expected promptly," Brent added, eyes flicking to the menu still unopened. "No splitting bills after the fact." Emily felt heat rush to her face. She nodded again, smaller this time. Across the room, Ryan lifted his gaze. The shepherd's ears tilted forward, sensing the change in air. Nothing had happened yet, not officially. But something had begun to move. And once it did, it would not stop quietly. The price of silence. Rain pressed harder against the windows, wind dragging cold air through the doorway each time it opened, turning Christmas warmth into something fragile and temporary. Emily felt the chill settle into her bones as Brent Caldwell lingered by their table. His posture was relaxed, almost casual, but his eyes carried a sharpened edge now, the kind that searched for weakness and enjoyed finding it. He tapped the tabletop once with his finger, a quiet sound that felt far louder to Emily than it was. "We'll need your order soon," Brent said. "Kitchen's busy tonight." "Yes," Emily replied. Her voice stayed polite, though her chest felt tight. She opened the menu again, forcing herself to look, to choose. $20. Fries. Maybe soup. Nothing more. Ava leaned closer, whispering, "Mom, I'm not that hungry." Emily knew the lie. It cut deeper than hunger itself. She smiled anyway and brushed Ava's curls back. "That's okay." Mia said nothing. She watched Brent instead, eyes sharp, absorbing the tension the way only quiet children did. Her small hand tightened around Emily's sleeve. Across the room, Ryan Cole sat still, The red and black flannel stretched across his shoulders as he leaned back slightly. His German shepherd lay at his feet, body relaxed but alert, ears angled forward. The dog sensed the shift before Ryan fully acknowledged it. Years of training had bound them to the same instincts. Ryan's left knee throbbed faintly, a reminder of nights colder than this one, places louder than this restaurant. He welcomed the pain. It kept him present. He watched Brent's stance, the way he spoke without lowering his voice, the subtle performance meant to establish control. Dylan approached Emily's table with a notepad, his movements hesitant. He was young, barely steady in his role, kindness written plainly on his face. His eyes flicked to Brent, then back to Emily.
"Are you ready to order?" Dylan asked, quietly, trying to soften the moment.
Emily nodded and pointed to the menu.
"We'll share a bowl of soup and fries."
Brent let out a short laugh, not loud, but pointed.
"That won't be enough for 3.
Emily stiffened.
"We'll make it work."
Brent leaned in slightly.
"We don't allow loitering. Not on a night like this."
The word lingered between them. Loitering. Ava's smile faded. Mia's jaw set. Ryan's gaze lifted fully now. He didn't move. Not yet. He knew the shape of moments like this. Intervening too early often made things worse for the people who couldn't afford attention. He waited, measuring the line between discomfort and harm. Dylan hesitated. "I can put it in," he said, almost apologetically. Brent straightened. "I'll handle it." He turned back to Emily. "Payment up front." The room seemed to quiet around them, conversations dimming as people sensed conflict without understanding it. Emily reached into her coat pocket.
Her fingers brushed the folded bill, worn soft at the edges.
She pulled it out and placed it on the table, her hand shaking despite her effort to control it. "That's all I have," she said. Brent picked up the bill, holding it between 2 fingers. "That won't cover tax and tip." Emily swallowed. Shame rose hot and sudden, uninvited. She hated it more than hunger. "I can leave," she said. "I'm sorry." Ava's eyes filled with tears. Mia looked down, lips pressed tight. Ryan felt something shift inside him then, something old and dangerous if left unchecked. He inhaled slowly, grounding himself, the way he had been taught. The shepherd lifted his head, watching Ryan's hand. Brent placed the bill back on the table, slower this time, deliberate. "Maybe next year," he said. "This place isn't for charity." That was the moment. Ryan stood. The movement drew attention immediately. He rose carefully, favoring his left leg, the slight limp visible but unembarrassed.
The German shepherd remained down, steady, disciplined,
eyes tracking without tension. Ryan walked toward the table, boots quiet against the floor. His presence changed the air without a word spoken. He stopped at a respectful distance, his voice calm, even. "That's enough." Brent turned, surprised, irritation flashing across his face. He sized Ryan up, eyes flicking briefly to the dog's harness. "This doesn't concern you," Brent said. Ryan met his gaze. "It does now." Emily looked up, startled. She felt exposed, suddenly afraid of being the center of attention. "Sir, you don't have to." Ryan lifted one hand gently, not touching, just signaling pause. His eyes softened briefly when they met hers. "You're fine." Brent scoffed. You can sit back down. Ryan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You're embarrassing yourself. Brent's face reddened. You threatening me? No, Ryan replied. I'm asking you to stop. The shepherd's ears angled forward, body still.
The message was clear without movement.
Dylan hovered nearby, heart pounding. He wanted to help, but fear kept his feet planted. Brent glanced around, aware now of eyes watching, phones half raised. His smile returned, strained. Sir, if you don't return to your table, I'll have to ask you to leave. Ryan nodded once. Call whoever you need. The words landed heavier than they sounded. Emily's breath caught. She felt something unfamiliar beneath the fear. Relief. Not rescue. Witness. The rain continued to lash the windows as the balance of the room shifted, quietly, irrevocably.
When the room turned, rain drummed harder against the glass, a steady percussion that pressed nerves flat and made every breath inside the restaurant feel borrowed. For a moment, after Ryan Cole spoke, no one moved. Brent Caldwell's smile froze, caught between disbelief and offense. He had not expected resistance, not from a stranger, not in front of customers. Power, in his world, worked best when unchallenged. He straightened his vest as if adjusting authority back into place. I said this doesn't concern you, Brent replied. His voice lifted slightly, sharpened for performance. You're disrupting my business. Ryan stood still. The red and black flannel hung loose across his shoulders, unassuming, almost plain. His left leg bore his weight carefully, the familiar ache flaring, but controlled. At his feet, the German shepherd remained down, eyes alert, body calm. The harness lettering caught the light. Service dog, do not pet. Ryan felt the room more than he saw it. He sensed attention tightening, people leaning into silence.
He had learned long ago that escalation did not begin with fists. It began with tone. You already disrupted it, Ryan said quietly. I'm just naming it. Emily's heart pounded so loudly she worried others could hear it. She wanted to disappear, yet she could not look away. Part of her feared that Ryan's presence would make things worse. Another part, buried deep, felt seen for the first time that night. Brent laughed again, louder now. This is a private establishment. If she can't pay, she leaves. That's how it works. Dylan stood frozen a few steps away, his hands clenched at his sides. He watched Ryan with a mix of awe and terror. Dylan knew Brent's temper. He also knew the truth about the tips, about the corners cut, and the way complaints disappeared. His chest tightened. Speaking now could cost him his job. Staying silent felt heavier. Ryan shifted his gaze briefly to Dylan, then back to Brent.
She offered to leave, Ryan said.
You didn't let her. You wanted an audience.
That landed. A murmur rippled through the room. A woman near the bar lowered her fork. A man at the back reached for his phone without fully realizing it. Someone else already had one raised, lens pointed, capturing the exchange from behind a water glass. Brent noticed. His eyes darted, recalculating. Put your phones away, he snapped. This is none of your concern. The effect was the opposite of what he intended. Ryan felt the shift too. He did not smile. He had seen rooms turn before. It was never loud at first. It was subtle, like wind changing direction. Brent stepped closer to Emily's table and, with a careless motion, slid the $20 bill toward the edge. Take your money, he said. We're done here. The bill fluttered, half hanging off the table.
Ava gasped softly. Mia's face hardened, small shoulders squared in a way no child should have to. Emily's throat closed.
She reached for the bill, fingers trembling. That was when Ryan moved again. Not fast, not aggressive, just enough. He reached out and pressed the bill flat against the table with 2 fingers, stopping it from falling. He did not touch Brent. He did not raise his voice. "Don't," Ryan said. The German shepherd lifted his head fully now, ears forward, eyes steady on Brent. No growl, no tension, just presence. Brent faltered. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but it was there. He had dealt with angry customers, loud ones, even threatening ones. This was different. This man was calm. Calm made Brent unsure. "Are you some kind of hero?" Brent snapped. "Because if you are, you picked the wrong place." Ryan looked at him evenly. "I'm not here to be a hero." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, movements deliberate. "I'm here because you crossed a line." Emily's breath hitched. She did not know what Ryan planned, only that something irreversible was happening. Fear and relief tangled inside her, indistinguishable. Ryan turned slightly so Brent could see the screen. He tapped once, then twice. "I'm calling this in," he said. "Non-emergency. They can sort out the rest." Brent's face drained of color. "You can't do that." "I can," Ryan replied. "And I am." Across the room, the man who had been filming lowered his phone for a moment, then raised it again, more openly now. His expression was tight, intent. Others followed suit, screens glowing softly like quiet witnesses. Dylan swallowed hard. His heart hammered. He took a step forward before he could stop himself. "Brent," he said, voice shaking but clear. "You don't need to do this." Brent rounded on him. "Stay out of it!" But Dylan couldn't. Something inside him broke loose, pushed by the weight of watching. "This isn't right," he said. The words surprised him with their firmness. "Not tonight. Not ever." The room seemed to inhale as one. Ryan finished the call and slid the phone back into his pocket. "They're on their way," he said simply. Brent laughed again, brittle now. "Over what? A misunderstanding?" Ryan shook his head once. "Over behavior." Emily felt tears sting her eyes. She hated crying in public. She had trained herself not to. But this was different. This was not weakness. This was release. The rain outside continued, relentless, washing the city clean inch by inch. Inside, something else was being stripped away. The balance of the room had changed, and everyone felt it. The truth comes due. Sirens cut faintly through the rain outside, distant but approaching, their rhythm threading through the hush that had settled over the dining room. No one spoke while they waited. Brent Caldwell stood near the host stand, arms folded now not in confidence, but in defense. The pressed lines of his vest no longer looked sharp. Sweat darkened the fabric beneath his arms. He tried to appear calm, but his foot tapped once, then again, betraying him. Ryan Cole returned to his table, but did not sit. The red and black flannel clung lightly to his frame as he leaned his weight onto his right leg, easing the strain on the left. The German shepherd shifted smoothly at his feet, repositioning without command, eyes still trained on the room. The dog's calm steadiness radiated outward, an anchor amid the tension. Emily sat frozen, Ava pressed against her side, Mia still upright and watchful. Emily's heart thudded, Fear mingled with something she barely recognized. Validation. She had done nothing wrong. Yet it felt dangerous to believe that. Dylan hovered near the service station, pale, his hands trembling. Every instinct told him to retreat, to disappear until the moment passed. But the moment had already claimed him. He had spoken. He could not undo it. The doors opened again, letting in a rush of cold air and rain. Officer Luis Martinez stepped inside, water beading on his dark uniform. He was in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered, with a steady face shaped by years of listening before judging. His eyes swept the room once, taking in posture, silence, the invisible lines of conflict. "Evening," he said calmly. "Who called?" Ryan raised a hand. "I did." Martinez nodded and approached, glancing briefly at the German shepherd and the harness. Recognition flickered across his face, not surprise, but understanding. He turned his attention back to Ryan. "What's going on?" Ryan spoke plainly, without embellishment. He described what he had seen. The public shaming, the demand for payment, the attempt to force a family out. He did not raise his voice or dramatize. He didn't need to. Martinez listened, expression neutral. Brent cut in sharply. "That's not what happened. This is a misunderstanding. I was enforcing policy." Martinez turned to him. "I'll hear you in a moment." The words landed with quiet authority. A man near the bar stepped forward then. He was well-dressed, early 50s, sharp-eyed, holding his phone loosely in one hand. "Officer," he said, "I recorded the exchange, from before the argument." He held the phone out. Brent's breath caught. "You can't use that." Martinez took the phone. "I can watch it." Around them, murmurs rose and fell. Emily felt dizzy, the room swaying slightly. She focused on Ava's hair beneath her chin, on Mia's steady breathing. Martinez returned the phone after a moment, his jaw set. "I'd like to ask a few more questions." He gestured toward Dylan. "You work here?" Dylan swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." "Have you seen this kind of behavior before?" The question hung heavy. Dylan felt every eye on him. His job, his rent, his fear. And beneath it all, the image of Emily's shaking hand. "Yes," Dylan said quietly. Then louder, "Yes, I have." Brent spun toward him. "Watch what you're saying." Martinez raised a hand. "Enough." Dylan took a breath that felt like stepping off a cliff. "There are other things too," he said. "Tips. They don't always go where they're supposed to." The words cracked something open. Another server nodded slowly. Then another. Someone whispered agreement. The room shifted again, this time decisively. Martinez turned back to Brent. "Is that true?" Brent's mouth opened, closed. "That's an internal matter." Martinez's voice remained even. "It's a legal one if money's being withheld." The rain outside intensified, drumming against the roof as if punctuating the moment. Emily stared at the scene unfolding, disbelief washing through her. This wasn't about dinner anymore. It was bigger than her, bigger than the shame she had carried in. She felt tears gather, but this time she didn't fight them. Ryan watched silently. He had learned long ago that truth, once given space, did not need defense. He rested a hand lightly on the shepherd's back. The dog leaned subtly into the touch. Brent's composure finally collapsed. His shoulders sagged, anger giving way to panic. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "You're all overreacting." Martinez shook his head. "I'm going to need you to step aside. There will be follow-up on this." He turned to Emily then, his tone gentler. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Emily nodded slowly. "I think so." "You didn't do anything wrong," Martinez said. "I want you to know that." Something inside Emily broke free at those words. She nodded again, tears sliding down her cheeks without shame. Martinez looked around the room.
"If anyone else has information, now is the time." Silence answered him. Not the fearful kind this time, but a resolved one. Brent was escorted toward the side office, his authority stripped down to a man avoiding eye contact. The audience he had wanted was no longer on his side. Ryan exhaled, long and quiet. His knee ached sharply now, but he welcomed it. Pain meant the moment was real. The shepherd settled back into place, the crisis ebbing from his posture. Emily held her daughters close, warmth spreading through her chest where humiliation had lived moments before. Outside, the sirens faded into the rain. Inside, the truth remained. What stayed after the rain? The rain softened into a mist outside, Christmas lights blurring into gentle halos as the storm loosened its grip on the city. Inside Hearth and Honey, the air felt different. Lighter. Not joyful exactly, but relieved, like a room that had finally exhaled after holding its breath too long. Emily Parker sat with Ava and Mia, her arms wrapped around them both. The table in front of them no longer felt like a stage. It felt like a place again. Ava traced circles in a puddle of condensation on her glass, curiosity returning to her eyes. Mia sat straighter, shoulders less tense, her gaze drifting around the room without bracing for impact. Across the restaurant, Brent Caldwell's voice could be heard faintly from the side office, sharp and defensive, but it no longer carried weight. Whatever authority he had once worn like armor now hung loose, stripped down to excuses and impatience. People avoided looking his way. Power, Emily realized, vanished faster than dignity once truth arrived. Ryan Cole stood near his table, easing his weight carefully from one leg to the other. The familiar ache in his left knee had settled into a deep throb, the kind that followed moments of sustained tension. He didn't fight it. Pain had taught him patience long ago. At his feet, the German shepherd lay calmly, head resting on his paws. The black harness, letters stark and clear, drew glances from curious children and cautious adults alike. The dog did not move. He had done his work simply by being present. Dylan approached Emily's table again, this time without Brent's shadow looming behind him. His face still carried fear, but something steadier had joined it. Resolve. "I'm really sorry about what happened," Dylan said. His voice shook, but he didn't look away. "Your food will be out in a minute. On the house." Emily hesitated. Pride rose instinctively, protective and tired. But she looked at her daughters, at Ava's hopeful eyes and Mia's careful patience. "Thank you," Emily said quietly, "for speaking up." Dylan nodded, swallowing hard. It was time. A man in a dark coat stepped forward then, his posture confident but not arrogant. He was in his early 50s, silver threaded through his hair, eyes sharp with experience. This was Michael Harlan, the restaurant's owner. He carried himself with the weight of someone used to responsibility and the humility of someone who knew when he had failed. "I owe you an apology," Michael said, addressing Emily directly. "What happened here tonight should never have happened. Not on any night." Emily listened, guarded but open. She had heard apologies before. Most were thin. This one felt heavier. "I'll be handling this personally,"
Michael continued. There will be changes, immediate ones. Emily nodded once. She didn't know yet what forgiveness would look like, but acknowledgement mattered. It always had.
Officer Martinez finished his notes nearby and approached Ryan.
Thank you for calling it in, he said. You kept it clean. Ryan nodded. That was the goal. Martinez glanced at the shepherd. Good partner. Ryan allowed himself the smallest smile. The food arrived then. Simple plates, soup steaming, fries piled higher than Emily had expected. Ava's face lit up as if Christmas had finally arrived. Mia studied the plate first, then looked at Emily, silently asking permission. Emily nodded, and both girls ate with the careful joy of children who had learned not to assume abundance. Ryan watched from a distance, not intruding. He had no interest in gratitude. Moments like this were not about being seen. They were about being done. When the meal ended, Emily gathered her daughters and stood. She hesitated, then turned toward Ryan. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Ryan shook his head gently. You don't need to. But you handled tonight, he said.
I just didn't let it get buried. Emily absorbed that, the words settling deeper than comfort.
I hope my girls remember this, she said softly. Not the bad part, the other part. They will, Ryan replied. Kids remember who stood up, even if they don't know why. Outside, the rain had faded to a quiet shimmer on the pavement. Christmas music drifted faintly from somewhere down the block. Ryan turned to leave, adjusting his flannel against the cold. The shepherd rose smoothly beside him, ready, focused, loyal as ever. As they stepped toward the door, Ava called out, Mister? Ryan turned. Your dog is very brave, she said. Ryan glanced down at the shepherd, then back at her. So are you. He left without another word. Emily watched them disappear into the night, something warm settling in her chest where shame had lived for too long. The storm had passed, but what remained would last far longer.
Sometimes the miracle does not arrive as thunder or light. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the moment someone chooses not to look away. Faith is not only what we pray for in churches. It is what we live out when we stand up for dignity, when we protect the small and the tired, when we refuse to let shame win. God's work often moves through ordinary people who simply decide to do the right thing, even when it costs them comfort. In our daily lives, we will all face moments like this, a chance to stay silent, or a chance to act, a chance to pass by, or a chance to become part of someone else's answered prayer. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and tell us what kindness means to you. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us faith is alive in everyday moments. May God bless you and your family.